started. What's up, everybody? Don't click off yet. I'm just kidding. Happy Sunday. If you haven't subscribed, I'm going to start with this. Hit the subscribe button now. Had a lot of subscribers this month because of a couple of my shorts. Pretty hilarious. So probably a lot of you new people here, but this is really a music channel. This isn't a channel that that talks about songs in the top 40. It actually occasionally does. A couple announcements before we start. Those of you that saw my band Billionaire, our rehearsal, one take of our song, I Fell From Space, we are performing. So I have a show here in Atlanta. If you live in the Atlanta area, you live close, you want to come up to it, there's a few tickets left. It's at the Variety Playhouse, which is a great, great venue here. It's this coming Thursday, the 28th at 8 p.m. Tickets you can find in the description below. I have a show at the Gramercy Theater if you're up in New York City or in that area on October 17th. There's a few tickets left in there. I'd love to see you. It'd be great. And then at Passionskirche, Passionskirche in Berlin, Germany, October 28th. I tried my best on that. I'm going to be performing there. That was sold out. They opened up tickets, and there's some tickets that are still available for that. So would love to see you. And if any of you, if anybody in here watching, you're probably not watching here right now, but you may be, that are from Germany or Austria, because I'm actually going to be in Austria and Germany both. And I'm going to be making a video on Beethoven and a video on Mozart. So if you're an expert on either of those composers, let me know. Just write to me at rickbeato1@gmail.com. So an expert, I mean that you're somebody that has your doctoral, that you're an expert in this and that you live there and that you'd be willing to be on camera. Anyhow, sale for today. Once again, $99 for my Beato bundle. And we're going to be referencing stuff that's in my Beato Book Interactive, my video course. They're all video courses, except for the ear training courses, both a video course, and it has modules to teach you ear training. So it's my Beato book, my Beato ear training, my beginner guitar course, if you've never played before and you want to learn how to play, and my Quick Lessons Pro, which will incorporate stuff that I played today, and so will stuff from the Beato book. But this stuff that you'll see on the screen that I'll put after our things from Beato book. We're going to talk about pentatonics. And a lot of you that know how to play basic guitar or that play advanced guitar know about pentatonic scale. But one of the things about learning pentatonics is how you connect them across the neck. Because most people, let's say that you're playing an E minor pentatonic, which would be up here at the 12th fret. Most of you people know that one shape here, right? And you might know a couple notes around it, like the ones that lead into it, and that go above it. You might know those notes there. You might also know... You also might know this position because it's based out of this area of the neck where there's the E, right? And then you know here. You know that because you played Back in Black before. But it's like, okay, what about here? How do you combine the things here? So there's two ways to work on the pentatonics. What you want to do is you want to practice them across the neck, and then you want to practice them horizontally down the neck, connecting positions where you don't play all the notes of every position. You combine them in different combinations. So if I talk about playing across the neck in one position, so this would be, this is G major, E minor. They're the same notes for G major and E minor. If I start with a low open E string, so these particular notes here are the E minor pentatonic down in the, we would call this the second position because it actually has notes here at the second fret. I'm going to put this off here. So when I say second position, I am starting with open low E. Now, for those of you that don't use your pinky, it's a good time to start using your pinky. But a lot of times, I will avoid my pinky also. On the way up, I didn't use the pinky. On the way down, I did use the pinky. What you want to do is you want to be versatile enough to play both. Because when you're improvising, you're playing different combinations of fingerings depending on what happens to come up next, right? The next position here would be this. And I'm going to go over here, and we're going to go here. This is the next position of the E minor pentatonic. The thing I like about this particular position is that you have the E here, and it's got those 3-1-3 patterns in it. And there's your root there. There's your root there. Easy to see this shape, but this is one of the ones that may not. If I play a chord under it, so I'm bending this note up to what the next position note would be. Right? This note is going to move to this next position here, which is here. This is the one I talked about earlier that's based off this chord shape here. If you play E major or E power chord or E minor. Let me move this out of the way here. This particular position then this is one that you're probably familiar with because you have the root right there, okay? And then the next position, I'll go back to here, go back to this next position here is this one that's right behind the high E here. So that would be here. Okay, this is the one that I talked about where if you know the notes below, that's the notes that lead you into it. But so these, now you have all the fingerings, what I call across the neck this way, right? Right? So those cover the entire neck there for the E minor pentatonic scale. Okay, so it's like, how do you actually move between these? Because that's really the key to being able to play freely over them. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how you add notes to the scale to make it more interesting as well. Okay, so the things I like to do, I'm just playing a little E minor chord to make it sound cool. So I played this finger. Pretty much the same shape across the neck. Then I came down this different shape. Okay, so that combines those pentatonic shapes, And then if you're in this position, if you're in this position here, then you can actually flow freely between them. And then I'm playing that pentatonic scale, what I call in thirds, I guess it would be. This is actually good practice to be able to do it. Then here. It gets your fingers, it works on your dexterity, and it enables you to actually get even more familiar with where those notes are in position, right? If you're just running up and down the scale, your fingers kind of get used to that pattern, and it doesn't really help you for improvising, okay? Now, I'm not playing any extra notes. I'm not doing any bends or anything like that, which we will do for phrasing things. But by playing some different patterns within these different pentatonic scales, it starts to break you out of the sequences. If I did sequences like this would be like in 3-note, in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are in 6s. Do the same thing here. Here. And so on and so forth, right? So those are 6s. You can practice 5s. That's the stuff you hear Eric Johnson do. A lot of guitar players do things in 5s. 5s sound great because they're irregular and the beat flips around. Okay, so you want to practice these scales in all types of groupings. And then that's like a very common rock pattern that you would hear. You know, you'd hear Jimmy Page play those kind of patterns. So the other thing I would do then is I would practice combining 2 positions together, right? But in this way. Let's say I'll put a chord under it again. So I'm doing a so I did 1 note from this position. That sounds really cool because it gives it more of this cascading effect, right? I just love that sound. So you can play you can play a standard so I use some thirds in there, right? And okay, so you can also try to look for certain types of chord shapes that are in there. So one of the chord shapes could be E minor 7th arpeggio is right in there. That is right in that thing. Okay, now, The next thing I would do, once you master these things and you can play freely, you can play freely across the neck with these things. You know where all of these notes are, right? Then I would say, okay, then I would start to experiment by adding notes to the scales. We've talked about this before. You can add the ninth to this. I've talked about this many times on here. Adding the ninth would be adding the F sharp. It'd be like this. That's beautiful. You can add the 13th. Love that sound. I added the 9th and the 13th to there, but this you can add the flat 6 to it too. I could do more like this. I love that sound. That flat 6. With that. Beautiful, beautiful note. So I added the 9th and I added that flat 6 in there. You can add the natural 6 in there, right? For that more of that Dorian sound. That'd be this. Right there. So I go up the pentatonic. And then you can start and add the entire scale. That way I've used that was all Dorian there. So I went from the pentatonic. So that pentatonic, so blending the pentatonic, adding those color notes, I call them haunting tones or surprise notes. Those are the things that Paul McCartney used in, those 6, the flat 6, the natural 6 in Eleanor Rigby. Both those notes are in there in E minor. Or Sting, who I went to see play this past week, uses them all the time, these things. I've done videos on the song I Burn For You, which uses the flat 6 in minor. It's beautiful, beautiful sound. Or he uses the natural 6. I mean, this is very common with people that write really sophisticated melodies. John Lennon, the Beatles use it all the time. Uses these 9ths, the 6th, pretty much everybody that you like, whether it's from Metallica to Nirvana to the Beatles to Eric Johnson to Joni Mitchell to anybody that writes really colorful melodies will use these devices, these notes. They use the pentatonic. Most pop songs have pentatonic melodies. And then we'll have these additional color tones. We call them upper extensions, haunting tones, surprise notes, whatever you want to call them. It's 9ths, 11ths, and 13ths. Now, all of this is not only in my Beato Book Interactive, right, where he has these things. This has hundreds of examples of this, right, where it's got the audio examples. It shows you where to play things, shows you how to combine all the positions. My Quick Lessons Pro course is a video course that actually takes these things and shows you these more complicated things like I'm doing here. If you want to learn how to use the Dorian sounds and Mixolydian sounds and things like that. A little bit more more sophisticated sounds. And the ear training course, my ear training course teaches you how to hear these things. How do you know when you're hearing the third of a chord, or the flat third of a chord, or the fourth or the sixth of a chord, or a flat sixth of a chord? How do you know? I was watching the... what was I watching here? I was watching a George Benson, old George Benson video. And he talked about, I want to say he said his dad told him, he's like, you got to know how to use every note of the chromatic scale. And George's like, what do you mean? You got to know how to use every note and know kind of what it sounds like in relation to the root, and then how to use it. And so he gave examples, and it's absolutely fascinating. George would show these type of ideas here, how to incorporate these different notes. The flat sixes, the natural sixes, the sus4s. If I'm going to do I can take, right in the scale, I can take this, that would be a sus4 arpeggio that's right in the scale, no extra notes, it's in the pentatonic. Beautiful sound. That added a different note. Look. I love that. Beautiful. Hard to play in this position holding the guitar up, but so I'm using this. I use that sus4 arpeggio, then I came down to this. That's right out of the pentatonic. And then I use that ninth and added it to the pentatonic. Okay, so I'm combining these different notes and just taking certain shapes out of the scale and playing them. I could play this. So there's this A sus4 here. This what I would call A sus4, A7 sus4 arpeggio. Love that sound. Those beautiful, those intervals. So I'm using really pretty basic stuff there, but the interval combinations that I'm playing are what gives it interest, right? If you're just vamping over a chord or something like that. And these types of ideas you'll hear in your favorite players, whether it's Neil Schon or Pat Metheny or Eric Johnson or Steve Vai, whoever that will use these notes, these extra notes to the pentatonic scale to make their playing, Al Di Meola, to make their playing more interesting, right? Using more intervals like that to those are the things that grab your ear when you hear those ninths and sixths and 11s and things like that, sharp fours on major chords and stuff. So, I mean, that's just taking one chord, that E minor pentatonic scale, right, over an E minor chord. I did it over an E minor 11 chord. But these pentatonics can be played over any chord, right? You can play it over a blues, you can play it over a dominant chord. I'm not using a freeze pedal. People keep saying that. Can you see that I'm playing on a keyboard right here? Look, this is a keyboard. Right here, this keyboard here. Everybody's like, I think he's using a freeze pedal. It's like, I actually do have a freeze pedal. I could use a freeze pedal. Check it out. The freeze pedal would sound like this, though. Doesn't really sound that good, I don't think. Maybe let me see if I can play it in a lower, Doesn't sound that good. I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't. Probably because it's not a clean sound. It doesn't sound that good. But that's what a freeze pedal would sound like. So that's how you know it's a different. That I'm literally playing on the keyboard a chord and holding down the sustain pedal to do it. Keyboard sounds way better. William just said that. Keyboard sounds better. So the ability to recognize these things, right? How do you know when you're hearing a sixth? How do you know when you're hearing a ninth? How do you know when you're hearing a fourth? Well, it's basically you just have to be able to relate these things to the root of the chord. So if I hear da, I know that note is a ninth. I can hear that, and if I go da, I just know that note is the 13. It's the natural 13. Right? I hear the chord and I hear the root and I hear ba or da. So being able to pick those notes out, I don't have perfect pitch. I have perfect relative pitch, right? And you get relative pitch by doing ear training. And ear training is, I used to say ear training is something that you need to do for your whole life. But, when I created my ear training program, it was kind of based off me teaching. I used to teach remedial ear training when I taught college back in the 80s. I taught ear training, and then at the end of the semester, people that were in danger of failing, because if you couldn't pass ear training after your second year of college, by the fourth semester, you could not graduate with a music degree, at least at Ithaca College. It was actually common to most music conservatories and music schools. You had to pass ear training. We called it sight singing, but it was basically ear training. So it involved dictation, being able to hear something and writing it down. So you write the rhythm and the notes down. But it also be able to hear things. Is the chord major or minor? What is it? Is it a minor 11 chord? Whatever. Being able to recognize those different intervals in relation to the root. Not only in relationship to the root, but in relationship to each other. And a lot of these students were very challenged at this because many of them did not play a rhythm instrument or a chording instrument. There was a lot of percussion majors that would be in there that hadn't really played, so they didn't have the ones that didn't come up playing the piano first or playing the guitar or something like that. They're really new to it. They didn't understand how chords were built, and even by the fourth semester in, it was difficult for them. And I had to develop strategies to teach them because they were the most difficult students to teach. So when I thought about, okay, how to develop an ear training course, and these are the strategies that I put in my Beato ear training course, are the strategies to teach basic beginners. It starts out, is this pitch higher or lower? Okay. I mean, it gets incredibly complicated later on once you move up through the different things. And then it starts with intervals below the octave, intervals up to the fifth, and then intervals beyond the fifth, and then intervals beyond the octave. Okay. So, being able to recognize a major second from a minor second, a major third from a minor third, a major sixth from a minor sixth, a perfect fourth from a perfect fifth, a tritone. How does a tritone sound different from a major seventh interval? How does it sound different from a minor second interval? The intervals are dissonant, but they're dissonant in a different way, and being able to recognize them instantly. And then the next level of that is to do and know what the note's going to sound like before, because I know that sixth interval. I know what that's going to sound like. I know the ninth. I know the fourth. So not only can I sing them, but when I hear them, I know what it is when someone's playing it. So when someone's playing a lick, I know what the notes are in the licks because I'm just out relating them. And if I know what key it's in, if I know it's in E minor, then I can recognize what the notes are in relation to the tonic. I did this video a couple years ago about this one Alan Holdsworth lick. And one of my friends called me. He was watching the video. He was like, how did you figure this out? This Holdsworth thing. It's from the song City Nights. It's this super fast arpeggio thing he does. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, how'd you figure that out? I said, I can figure anything out. It's just recognizing, you just get used to hearing these things. You get used to recognizing the interval combinations. You get very fast at it by just practicing it over and over. So that's why. So I developed the ear training course to go in succession of how you should be able to hear things, intervals, be able to hear added note chords, being able to hear seventh chords with alterations. First of all, with sevenths, major sevenths with ninths, major sevenths with sharp 11s, major sevenths with 13s, dominant chords with flat nines, with sharp nines, with flat fives, with sharp fives, with flat nines and sharp fives, with sharp nines and flat fives. How do they all sound? They all have their own individual sound. And what you want to be able to do is develop a vocabulary of recognized sounds, right? So that when you hear a chord like this, when I hear that chord, I know what it is instantly. I don't have to analyze the intervals because I know the sound of it. Just like I know the sound of that, or I know the sound of that, or this. If you play guitar, you know what an E minor chord is if you've been playing long enough, right? So, anyways, this is why I sell all my courses for $99 total. That's it. That's what supports the channel. That's why I'm able to do travel and do these interviews with artists. I have a couple more interviews coming out. I have the guys from Pantera that I had in. I have Dominic Miller from Sting's band, who I've interviewed before, but with Sting. And I interviewed him, and it's a great interview. Dominic is amazing. He plays some really great guitar stuff in it. So cool. Anyhow, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're in Atlanta, come to the show the 28th of this month. That's a week from, it's next Thursday, coming up this Thursday, at the Variety Playhouse. Tickets are in the description below. In New York City at the Gramercy Theater, October 17th, and at the Passionskirche on October 28th. That's the last gig of the year. That may be the last gig I ever do. I don't know, but I don't have anything planned for the future. So if you want to come see me live, this is your chance. You guys are amazing. Great to see you all. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll talk soon. Take care.